Welcome back, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. My name is Pritesh with Kaizen Crypto. In this video, I'm really excited to be joined again by Chris Swenor. So Chris is the CEO of the Reach platform. He had come on to speak with us before on the channel, and he is here again for an update. So Chris, thanks so much for joining us today. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing amazing. It's happy to be back on this show. I think my beard is a little bit longer than last time.
Yep. Yep, definitely put in some growth there. I know I've had to I've had to keep it pretty trimmed up, but I see you kind of let it grow there.
Just let it go. What I like to say is I'm not cutting it until crypto becomes mainstream. So let's see how long it gets.
Nice, nice. Maybe you think we can get it down to the belly?
I mean, I hope that I cut it next week. That's what I'm hoping for.
Well, that's a good point. That's a good point. Well, that is awesome. Yeah, Chris, it's been a while since we had our last conversation, but really looking forward to chatting with you. There's so much excitement around what's happening, what's coming up with these smart contracts on Cardano. So I just wanted to talk a bit about that here in this video. But I guess for anybody who's tuning in who maybe didn't get a chance to see our previous conversation, I guess could you give us just a bit of an introduction to yourself? Just tell us a little bit about you and your background.
Yeah, so my name is Chris Swenor, CEO of a company called Reach. What Reach does is our mission has been for the last 2.5 years now to bring all of the developers in the world into blockchain, make blockchain development accessible. And really what we found is that to be able to do that, we need, number one, make the actual development itself easier. So we've done that by providing a higher level of abstraction programming language that's similar to JavaScript that allows developers to develop in the techniques that they're traditionally used to. And so it's an easy way for them to transition over. And then the other thing that we wanted to really tackle is the safety side. So when a developer writes their application in Reach, through the compilation process, we automatically generate formal proofs to mathematically guarantee that their code will do exactly as they expect. So this is not just testing, like we're not generating, tests or unit tests or anything like that. What we're really doing is we're turning their application into a math problem and proving that this math problem is going to be correct in all potential realities.
Okay, very interesting. So now you had mentioned JavaScript in there a little bit. So I guess we can talk a little bit about that in our conversation. It's going to be a little technical for anybody who's interested in that kind of thing. But it's interesting to know because as far as the developers who would be looking to start building applications, I think a lot of people see that, okay, you'd have to have this really unique skill set of being able to start writing these applications. But I think what you're doing with Reach is making that a bit more accessible to the everyday developer. So yeah, very interesting to see that.
Yeah. And some people ask us, oh, why did you pick JavaScript? That's not secure. This is blockchain, it needs to be secure. And the truth of it is we didn't choose the JavaScript language. We chose the JavaScript syntax. And why we did that is because we wanted to build our own language that is safe and secure, but make it look like and feel like developing in the most popular language in the entire world.
I see. I think that's going to be huge. So now, as far as what you're doing with the Reach platform, I guess we can talk a bit about some of the issues that you're aiming to solve with, I guess, coding on blockchain. I guess, can we talk a bit about that?
Sure.
What are some of the challenges that you feel like people who want to get started with programming and developing on blockchain are going to come across, and how does Reach kind of address some of those issues?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Right now, to build blockchain applications, you have to develop at a much lower level of abstraction. And what I mean by that, and give you a kind of an analogy, is that asking somebody to build blockchain applications with the current tools is like asking somebody to build an application like Twitter, but they're only able to use the assembly programming language or very, very low level coding. And it's just not practical. it's going to be very difficult to be successful. I personally believe anybody that creates and writes smart contracts by hand is destined to failure, because it is because people write bugs, and a bug will make you lose all your money. So why bet on the potential of a human writing a bug when you can use a higher level language like what Reach does, and allow for the programming language to do all of the hard work for you to make the actual output much, much safer.
Interesting. And, I think that kind of ties into the ethos of how the, I guess, scientists and researchers went into developing the Cardano protocol. But then is the Reach platform going to be some type of agnostic way for developers to code on blockchain? I mean, there's a whole bunch of different smart contract platforms now. If we think about Ethereum, Solera, I don't know, Algorand. I guess there's a whole bunch of different platforms. Like how does Reach kind of interoperate between these different blockchains?
Yeah, there are many different blockchain platforms. There's the EVM, which is of course the big one that Ethereum runs on. And Cardano has their own, Algorand has their own, Solana has their own. But what they have their own of is the base layer protocol. This is actually very similar to just regular computation. There's many base layer protocols, but what it is that the people write in a higher level language like JavaScript or Python or Java, and it compiles down to different platforms. And what Reach is going to be the one true language that the entire world uses to write blockchain applications. Because what Reach does is it allows for a developer to set in a configuration which protocol that it compiles down to. So far, we have Ethereum, we have Algorand, and we have Conflux. Next one that we're going to be connecting to is Cosmos. But one of the reasons why I wanted to actually start talking to the Cardano network again is that we have a proposal out in the latest Catalyst Fund to connect it to connect Reach to the Plutus language.
Nice. Yeah, I definitely wanted to get into that with you in our conversation today, talking about Project Catalyst. And there's so much value that can be had from using that type of innovative tool to fund the development of the platform. So interesting to know about that. Now, as far as the developer experience, so I guess I wanted to understand from somebody who would be looking at Reach from the outside in. What is the experience for developers? I guess what type of toolkits do you offer? How will developers be able to interact with Reach and start building their dApps?
So Reach itself can be integrated into any development workflow. So whatever a developer feels comfortable with, it will work. So that's good. But to give you actually a kind of a real life example of what it's like to actually write with Reach, we are in the process right now of building an AMM DEX, very similar to what Uniswap V2 was. And it's been built, it's ready to be launched, and it can be launched on every chain that we connect to, and it's mathematically proven to be correct. And the developer that wrote it never knew what blockchain was before he started, and he wrote it in a month and a half. Wow. So if you think about that, so one developer, a month and a half to build the entire blockchain portion of an AMM, that is bonkers. Because if you think about it, and I mean, like Uniswap has a team of 20? The original one took a long time and a lot of eyes, a lot of auditing, a lot of everything. And an AMM on the Reach platform, one person, a month and a half. The truth of it is that we're in the process right now of building the interface to run on top of it, and it's taking longer than the blockchain portion did. So what Reach did was made the blockchain portion, which used to be the hardest thing about blockchain, now the easiest part of the entire build process. Wow, that is so cool. It's interesting to hear how one person can put that together in that short amount of time. Right. Now, when they run these and by the way, this included him learning Reach. So this was like it wasn't like a Reach expert, and then it took him a month and a half. He had just regular full stack development knowledge. He learned Reach and built the AMM in a month and a half.
Wow. Wow. Incredible. Very, very cool. So now with these applications that developers are going to be building, and how that would integrate with the layer one. So is it going to run on top of, say, like a side chain maybe, or like how would the application be executed on top of the network?
Not at all, because like that puts inefficiencies in the process, and we're all about getting the best experience. So what Reach does is it compiles down to the native code. So if when we connect to Cardano, it'll actually compile down to Plutus. So the output will be a Plutus smart contract.
Wow.
And it will actually output the client side to communicate with that smart contract. So all the developers have to do after they write the application in Reach is build an interface that communicates with the code that we provide them. And you just communicate with that through simple callbacks.
Okay. Wow. So what you're saying, I guess, just to summarize a little bit about what you've talked about so far, you don't have to be a Plutus developer, or you don't have to know Haskell necessarily. I guess if we talk about the syntax used in JavaScript, right, one of the most common programming languages, so you can pretty much use this syntax, compile your code using Reach, that would transform this logic into Plutus, and it executes on chain as a Plutus smart contract.
Yeah, I'll do you one better. We now have over 2,300 developers that have already written applications in Reach. And as soon as we actually build the connector, every one of their applications would be able to then just be launched on Cardano once we build the actual connection.
So cool. So cool. That's amazing. There was a video that Charles Hoskinson did a while back about the pond, the island, and the ocean. And I think in terms of the developer pool, like the amount of talent that's out there, there's a very small subset of people who has the proficiency in Haskell and Plutus. But then when you open it up using tools like what you're building with Reach to the wider developer community, I think that's where the value is really going to be had with what you're building, because you can make it so that anybody with your basic programming experience, and you had mentioned JavaScript and Python and all these other different types of high-level programming languages, can come and write applications on blockchain. So that is very, very exciting.
Yeah.
Now, I guess with the launch of smart contracts on Cardano, that's something that we're all kind of really excited about. The entire community is just fired up. So we're a go for September 12th. The Alonso hard fork is going to bring smart contract functionality to Cardano. So as far as functionality with using Reach, I guess, what does that time frame look like for somebody who wants to start writing applications using your platform?
I mean, it's up to you guys. It's up to the people listening to this. If they think that Reach is something that should be built on top of Cardano, go vote. We're not going to do it unless we can build that proof of concept to show that what we can do, and then of course create the partnership with the foundation. The main thing here is I need to see that there are developers in the world, or the community members in the Cardano space, that would love to see the Reach partnership to be there. So, like I said, Cosmos is next to actually build into the integration with Reach, because they've already actually put in the actual money to build the integration. But I would love it if Cardano could be the one right after it. And that's completely down to this next Catalyst fund.
Yeah, that's a perfect segue for us. So you do have a proposal out in Fund 6 for your project. Can you tell us a little bit more about what is contained within the proposal?
Of course. So we've done this now quite a few times as far as integrating with different chains, and they've been very successful so far. The first step of the process is to build a proof of concept. We take a look at the chains, take a look at the actual requirements, and we build out a proof of concept that shows a simple application. It's usually our overview application, which is in the plan, that we take that Reach application and we hit compile, and it outputs all of the moving pieces, and it simulates the application running on the native chain, because we go as far as standing up a local node. We run the code on there, run the simulation. You can see everything happen without changing the original Reach code base. So you know that every application that's written with Reach will be able to run on the Cardano network. I mean, it's just the first step because there is a lot of hard work to go into it, but and it doesn't bake it into our main product, but it is a proof of concept to make sure that you guys know that we're not full of BS, that we can actually deliver. We can deliver something cool, and there's a lot of promise there.
Yes, definitely. I think it would bring a lot of value for anybody watching who does want to support Reach. Please be sure to check out their proposal on Cardano.ideascale. Definitely, we'll be sure to leave a link for anybody who wants to drop them some kudos down in the description. That's probably one of the best ways that you can support this project.
Thank you, Pritesh.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. So, Chris, we talked a lot about Reach. I'm really excited about it. I think it's going to be huge, and I would really like to see your proposal get funded. But then for the next part of our conversation, you've been in blockchain for a while. And I wanted to just understand from your perspective as somebody who's actually building tools for people to create value on blockchain on a broader level. Where do you see blockchain going in the next maybe few decades? I know it's kind of a loaded question. There's a lot that can happen within that time. But I guess like how does blockchain impact everyday life going forward?
Yeah. So what I like to say is blockchain will be as big as the internet is today, or if not bigger, because the only network in the world today that's bigger than the internet is finance. And if you combine finance and internet, you have blockchain. And I believe that blockchain can fill that void. Now, answering the question of how will it fill that void, how will it make the world better, is a very difficult question to answer, because obviously, if I knew those answers, I would take over the world because I would build all the amazing things. But what I can say is that in the near term, what you're going to see is people are going to ask the question of what are the things today that could be made more efficient with blockchain. There's a great research paper out there called Some Simple Economics of Blockchain. That's a great read that really breaks down what the true value of blockchain is. And it lowers the cost of verification. So if you look at all of the industries out there that have a high cost of verification, you can see that blockchain will be able to be plugged in and make those industries better. But honestly, that's boring to me. Making existing things better means that blockchain is just another tech tool. What really makes me excited about blockchain is when blockchain creates entire new industries. And now, you might say, Chris, what do you mean by that? But this has already happened. This is like entire new tools, entire new primitives that never existed before have already been created in blockchain. My favorite so far is a thing called the flash loan. This is what a lot of people are first when they came out, they're like, oh, this is a hack tool or whatever. But no, this is actually a brand new primitive that doesn't exist in the real world. And to your listeners that don't know exactly what a flash loan is, it's the ability for any individual to be able to borrow a large sum of money that is guaranteed to be paid back plus interest, guaranteed. So there's a no risk loan of a large amount of money. Because how it works and how the actual blockchain works is I'm able to borrow the money. I am then able to use this money in the length of a single block and make multiple transactions. And if I'm able to pay back the loan plus the interest by the end of the transaction goes through. But if for some reason those transactions don't allow me to generate enough money to pay it back plus the interest, none of the transactions happen in the first place. And this is something that just doesn't exist in the real world. And it's a very exciting thing, being able to provide the normal person the ability to have that much power is extremely powerful. Another industry that people haven't actually created yet, but will be coming, is resellable digital goods. Right now, you have, I'm sure a lot of people out there listening have a Steam library of probably 1,000 games. What are they doing? Nothing. They're sitting in your library unused. I'm sure a lot of people back in the day, or maybe still have a bunch of MP3s that they no longer listen to. What do you do with those? You don't do anything with them. They're not really collectible. There's no scarcity involved. But what blockchain will allow is allow you to be able to create NFTs that allow you access to use those. And so it is a self-sovereign asset that declares ownership of this digital item. Now, because I have this NFT, I can play this game. I can listen to this music. It actually has value because it is actually ownership. But now I'm done with this game, or I'm done with listen to music. Now I can sell it. Or maybe because it's scarce, it increases in value, it becomes a collectible. And this is one of the things that blockchains allow. And you might think, well, why would video game, why would EA Sports, why would anybody allow for something like this? And because NFTs themselves are more, they're not. A lot of people think of like, an NFT is a collectible, and it's the thing it's a dumb thing that says what ownership is. But a true NFT can have rules around interaction, rules around transfer. So you can build into these NFTs royalties. Now, EA Sports, now these video game publishers, they get to actually have a brand new revenue stream on resellable market. This is not something that actually even existed before blockchain. Like, GameStop, FuncoLand, they made tons of money on reselling video games, and the original video game producers never seen a dime of it. But now, with blockchain, the original developers have the ability to generate revenue on every resale of that game from here on until the end of time, which would then bring down the original price of the game, because now they can say, okay, we have a long tail on this revenue model. So blockchain is going to bring these brand new, new industries that never existed before. And that is what's going to change the world.
Wow. I'm so glad that you touched on the point of NFTs. I think that is a really relevant topic now. There's so much interest coming in to NFTs and how smart contracts are going to provide even more utility to that. And right. Royalties, I think, is like a perfect example of one of those use cases. So yeah, there was actually a conversation that I was having with some of the people in our Discord server, and they were talking about how you could potentially be in a position where you have an NFT where the person who would need that NFT, I guess, wouldn't have that. So you could potentially offer that NFT as some type of loan or some type of collateral against it. And then that person who had borrowed that NFT, I guess, is within that smart contract. They would be able to use it once they've done using it, or once they're done using it, they get the added benefit. And the person who owns it is able to receive some type of token or some type of, verifiable credit saying that, hey, this is the benefit of having this NFT that I lent to this person, and I'm able to receive some type of benefit from that as well. So I guess there's a lot of interesting things to think about there with it.
That's just like scratching the surface, because if you think of it as a programmable ownership, it can really be anything. You could program borrowing into the NFT itself. I could lend it to you, and baked into the logic of the NFT itself is after a certain amount of time, it's given back to me. So and without me having to ask you for it, it's automatically, I get it back. So you could build all of these things into it. You could fractionalize the actual ownership. You could fractionalize the royalties of the NFT. And you could make it so that your NFTs has lending built into it, or borrowing built into it, so that it like you can do really anything is really where NFT and what people are doing right now is just scratching the surface. And I do a podcast called Better on Blockchain. And the last episode is a 45-minute long episode purely on what really is an NFT.
That's so interesting. I'll have to check that out because I'm always curious to learn more about this kind of stuff. I mean, we're talking about DeFi with NFTs now. I mean, that's just some crazy stuff to me. So really, really cool. Yeah. So Chris, we talked a lot about Reach. We talked a lot about what's coming up with Cardano. As far as where you see blockchain going over the next few years, lots of exciting things coming up. I guess to wrap up our conversation for today, I know you've been following the Cardano community for a while,
For a
and
long time.
with smart contracts coming up, I guess what are you most looking forward to coming up with Cardano?
So yeah, like I actually presented at the very first IOHK Fest back down in, I think it was Miami, a few years ago. So I've been following along quite a long time to the Cardano ecosystem and just part of the community. But what I've always been excited about Cardano is that they take their time. A lot of people say this is actually a downside, but I actually see this as actually an upside, because I know that they have put proper thought into actually how things should be released, and they're not given into the demands of just delivery, and go fast, break things. Now, Cardano is different than many different blockchains. They didn't follow that. I mean, that's the UTXO instead of an account base. They built their brand new programming language, written by and actually ran by some of the best programming language researchers in the entire world. So I'm just excited because it's something different. That's bringing something different to the entire space. That is definitely going to be used for many different things, and it's really bringing a lot of competition to the smart contract market.
Yeah, 100%. I think that this is the perfect definition of the tortoise and the hare, where we saw a lot of these other DApp platforms come first to market, and yet they're facing so many issues because of security vulnerabilities, being able to scale to meet the network demands. And here we are with Cardano. I think that they really lay the solid foundations, and that's definitely showing, all the hard work that's been put in over the past few years. So
Yeah.
100%.
I'm super excited.
Yeah.
Excited for. I mean, I've been waiting very patiently to get to this point where Reach can actually work with Cardano and be able to start building on top of it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it as well. There's so much value that's going to come to Cardano now. And the platform that you're building is definitely going to help facilitate that.
I agree.
So, Chris, thank you so much. I really did enjoy our conversation. For all of our viewers, definitely be sure to check out their Project Catalyst proposal. Let's see if we can get these guys funded. I think that it's a tremendous value add to the Cardano ecosystem. Chris, before we sign out for today, where can people go to keep up to date with your progress, and how can they find out more about what you're building?
Yeah. So our website is reach.sh. You can see, find out all the information there. Our documentation at docs.reach.sh, and follow us on Twitter at reachlang. And of course, join our Discord, because we're very active there and we love talking about building things.
Absolutely. 100%. We'll be sure to leave those links for everyone down in the description. So, Chris, thank you so much again. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
All right, sir. Take care.